Hi, everyone. I'm Sean, and this is episode 3 of the Love to Own Your Business podcast. For this week's episode, Settling Your Stress, we're talking with Chris Edwards, owner of Neurotherapy of Colorado Springs. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome to a show with the purpose of having a lighthearted discussion on the great advice that we've received as we grew our businesses, and also what advice we wish we'd received to avoid some of those missteps that made us not love our business so much, and hope keep you from making the same mistakes as you grow. I've started this series to complement the work I do with business owners that feel like their businesses really own them, and provide them with the experiences and supports that they need to help put things right. For this week, I was thinking that many of us have already begun navigating the return to school activities, despite already increasing numbers and looming warnings. And that also many of us are beginning to think a lot about the nearing changes in weather that will begin to soon close the great summer release valve of being outside that sort of helped keep us going with our social lives. So stress levels and anxieties are once again rising, and I wanted to have a discussion about coping in a more realistic and meaningful ways than the current gestalt of positivity that I have been coming across my feeds. So Chris, this has been your wheelhouse for about as long as I've known you, and I've always appreciated your ability to balance empathy with a workable, tough love approach to things. But let's start with telling us about Neurotherapy of Colorado Springs, what you do, and how you started it.
So, I mean, it's a long story, but I'll keep it shorter. Neurotherapy of Colorado Springs is a practice that deals with brain rehabilitation in the biggest sense of the word. From the standpoint of ADHD, anxiety, brain injury, stroke, performance enhancement, all of these things are really butting up against an old model, an old medical model. In Europe, we moved to a inflammatory model for mental health and medicine. The United States is definitely behind the times in this. And so what we do in our practice is an integrative model for improving brain functioning. So we look at tools we use biofeedback and neurofeedback. We use cognitive behavioral therapy. We use lifestyle management, and we look at nutritional levels and all the ways that they integrate and commingle in a person. We found that, as I was getting back into mental health from our days and from being musicians and my days doing research at the University of Buffalo, that I just wasn't really happy with the efficacy of just traditional mental health counseling, and the numbers aren't pretty. The reality is that a straight up statistical analysis of it, you're just as likely to get better if you go versus if you don't go. Statistics. And that's because talk therapy is not enough to get past a lot of people's issues. And so what we get at is we use brain imaging. We use a quantitative EEG to do what's called brain mapping. And we're looking for electrical deviations in the brain that are statistically significant. So we're looking for people who make too much of something or not enough of something. We look at the area of the brain that that's occurring in. We look at the functions that area of the brain governs. And then we triangulate that with a person's symptoms in the middle. And what we're trying to do is theorize on how they got there. And a lot of times it's poor lifestyle, it's trauma, it's poor nutrition, it's genetic anomalies. And so we've also developed a nice group of referral sources. We work with a lot of doctors and psychiatrists and other professionals in town to refer to, so we can develop a really big picture, and then we engage in, in a nutshell, brain rehabilitation.
Wow. So took some time to look over your website, and a lot of what you do is stress and anxiety management, right?
Yeah.
So have you seen a lot of increase in people coming, new patients as a result of what's been going on, and how are you helping them manage this?
Yeah, we never stopped working because we were essential, and so it was masks and lots of hand sanitizer and procedures to keep people really safe, and we did all of that. Yeah, and we have seen an uptick in people, running into stress-related issues for sure, because stress is inflammatory. Stress takes a toll on the central nervous system. It alters biochemistry, it alters neurochemistry, and if it's chronic, it can become a really big problem. So yeah, we've seen a big increase in that for sure.
So, other managing stress techniques that you might want to recommend for people that are sort of saying, "Oh, here we go again."
Right. You know, I'm a big fan of technique. Number one is turn off the screens. There's a growing body of research, and if you really want to see some uncomfortable things, look at Japan, because technologically they're a good 15-20 years ahead of us, and we're seeing some disturbing trends from all of the time on screens.
Hmm.
And so turn the screens off, number one. Number two, managing stress, move. Get up and move. Get out of your head, get into your body, right? Number three, I'm a fan of meditation. Working on, and there's so many apps and there's so many ways to do it. And the interesting thing about meditation is I think there's this misnomer that it's, sitting quietly and just kind of vegging out, right? That's not what it is. It's one of the few things that we know of where if you're doing it right, you're sitting still, you're balancing parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and you're producing dopamine, which is our feel good, get it done motivation neurotransmitter.
Hmm.
So I'm a big fan of that. If you're not inclined to meditation and you live more in the religious world, great, pray. Same thing. Go there. Good stuff.
Hmm.
Spend time with your family. Get into some hands-on activities. If you can get outside, I'm a big fan of just getting out in the woods, getting a little hiking in, getting on a bike,
Yeah.
getting in the sunshine. Just get out of your little cave, your little head, your house, and just, reintegrate back into the world in a way that feels safe to you.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice. So this is also a show about the kinds of things that we sort of made mistakes as we were growing our businesses, right? Oh
Uh,
yeah. This is where we put you on the spot, Chris.
sure, easy to do. I've made plenty. I think, the mistakes I've made. Number one is, your business. If you love your business,
Yep.
it's a baby, and like a real human baby, it reflects back at you all of your worst traits and all of the things that you're not doing right.
That is so true. It's so funny. I read one of something came across my Facebook. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. It's really, really tough to discipline the you out of your kids.
Right. It's
So
true.
it's the same. So when you put it like that, it's very true. It's right. It's hard to discipline the you out of your business, right?
Oh man, it really is. And so, the thing I can say is places where I would have done things differently, but all things being what they are, I learned from them, which is great. Number one, I would have hired help sooner. I would have hired office management way earlier. And the reason I didn't do it sooner is, to be frank, is because I had, and I still do, I'm doing way better, but money anxiety,
Mm.
which is that fear of if I'm not working, I'm not making money. And if I'm not making money, that's a bad thing because this is how I feed my family, right?
Yeah. We talk a lot about this with the business owners as they're growing because you're not alone, right? One, it's the control thing. Two, it's also, I don't even know if I can afford to spend the money, right? But I think a lot of business owners, they don't really consider what is it that is their highest, best use, right? And no one is going to sell your business better than you can, right? And if your product is what you do is what you sell, then no one's going to do it as well as you, right? And so freeing up that time allows you to do more volume of business, right? So but it is a switch. It's a literal mental switch that you have to make that says this is going to make me more money in the long run, even if I have to give up maybe 20 or 30 grand, right? At the on the back end of things, I'll still be able to make maybe 3 times as much in the revenue on the front end that will make it up, right? So and not only that, but I'll have a freer headspace to do my job.
Building a group of people that are all in for one purpose, right? Like we were with our music back in those days, where it was just when you have a small group of people with a common goal in mind and heart and skin in the game, you can get a lot done.
Build the bench from as early a place as possible, right? And do it right so that you're not rushed. It's always really hard to plug in that person when you really, really need them 4 days ago, right? But if you know you're going to need them in a couple of weeks, start thinking about who can we cultivate? Who can we sort of train up? Who can we start looking around in the neighborhoods and see that maybe we can just put the bug in their ear now, right? There's lots of people out there. How do we make them want to come work for us instead of where they are now?
Yeah, for sure. That was me. That was it. It took a while for me to get there and definitely took some cajoling and pushing, but ultimately it just became about me confronting my own bad habits,
Yep.
my own fears and my own, deficits persona wise of just, things I needed to learn. And this is where your business becomes your child and, points it all out to you.
Yep.
So that's the thing I would pass on to anybody. Love your business, love what you do, love it with all your heart, because even though you love it to death, it's going to reflect all of your worst stuff back on you, which is great. Because then what's cool about it is your business becomes this thing that allows you to self-examine and grow, which is really cool. It becomes its own therapist if you use it right.
Now that I'm going to totally appropriate that from you. That
You
like
go
that is
right
like your
ahead.
kid. I love that. You just gave me an idea of I've been stuck on what my next thing I'm going to write about, but I think that is a fantastic, fantastic analogy. Really, that it is the reflection on you, just like your kids are.
My business forced me to confront a lot of stuff within myself that was getting in the way of being that guy, right?
You're
And it's like I am one of those people where I feel like work's a blurry boundary because I love what I do. I love what I do. So I'm in my spare time, I'm reading a book and someone's going to go, "Are you working?" And I'm like, define that, because I'm having a good time right now. I'm loving this book. So I got my feet on the couch. I got a cup of tea and breeze is rolling through the window and I'm reading a book about brains. Am I working? What's working? In my definition of working, yeah, I'm always kind of working because I love what I do. It's part of who I am.
Yeah, I think we should have tossed that whole work life balance conundrum out the window a long time ago. It's really about integrated medicine, integrated work life balance, integrated work home. We're really, just because of the way we have screens and everything around us now today, it's impossible to get around it, but it's also efficient. And if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? That's what.
Right.
So
Right. Well, and then I was thinking about this too for you, right? You're a mountain bike guy. We got a lot of that out here. And what I realize is when you love what you do and you throw that energy into something else, let's say mountain biking, the things that you're learning from mountain biking, the focus, the attention to detail, all of that stuff,
problem solving.
yeah, problem solving, and all of that goes right back to your business.
Yeah.
It's this great feeding itself cycle. It's really not about work-life balance. It's about living your life to the fullest. And if you're doing the things that you love, even as your hobbies or whatever you want to call those things, all of those things lend themselves to your business, right?
Yeah.
I had this friend, so I have a vision board. My vision board is in my dining room. And I have this great friend, it's actually one of my coworkers, who hipped me to this amazing documentary about sushi.
Sushi.
Sushi. But it's really about Japan's premier sushi chef,
Okay.
right? So it's a documentary about this guy who's now in his 70s, and he's been making sushi since he was like 12 or something, right? And and I put a piece of sushi on my vision board because as I'm watching this, I'm really appreciating how this guy just, he loves what he's doing. He throws everything into it, from going to the fish market and developing relationships with fish vendors to taking on proteges to keeping his shop. He's got his restaurant is downtown Tokyo, maybe holds 20 people. It's just this crisp, clean, very Japanese, very Zen kind of restaurant, right? And this documentary just takes you through his philosophy where he's sushi, 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 sushi. In fact, the funny thing is he wins one of the Michelin awards, right?
Mm.
So he goes to the ceremony, he gets his thing, he gets his award, and they're all going to have this dinner. He gets his award and he kind of bounces off stage and gets right back on the subway and heads back to work. And not to say that that's the world's healthiest thing. This is where I diverge, where I go, it doesn't need to be sushi all day, every day. That you can engage in other things. Let's say keeping bonsai, right? And the detail and the nuance and the care and all of those things that go into becoming a bonsai master, I also believe will lend themselves to being a great sushi chef.
Yep.
All of that to say then, I go, if you're loving what you do for work and you're loving what you do outside of your job, and you throw that same energy into everything you do, which, gosh, I hope, that's my want for everybody.
Yep.
Right now, being a happy business owner, I go, man, I wish everybody could feel this way. I throw that into everything I do, into cooking, Friday night dance parties with my daughter, um, hiking, anything. It's just, I throw it all, same energy goes at all of that. And so it's just, all I'm doing then is rehearsing those neural pathways in my brain of love and life, enjoying, focusing, being centered, being mindful. And I bring that back to work every day. So I don't really see the separation. I don't get the work-life balance thing really. And
Yeah, it's about diversifying, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
Diversifying, but at least having something that puts at least the same amount of energy and detail. If you're a detail-oriented person, find something else that is separate from what you do, so you at least have some variety, right? You don't have all your eggs in one basket mentally, because then things do get stale after a while, and you do have a risk of burnout, even on something that you love, right? And then
correct.
you lose the zest for it, right? But if you're
Exactly.
able to switch between those two or three different things, activities, which are work but similar in the detail or the amount of attention that you have to put to them, all the better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's just like they all lend themselves to each other. I think it's really more about life philosophy versus work-life balance.
Yeah. That's a good point. The philosophy of life. What does it mean to you? What's your passion? What is it that you want that's your reason for living, right?
Right.
Right.
Right. What gets you up in the morning?
Yeah. What's a great piece of advice that someone gave you as you were growing that really resonates with you today still, or you'd like to pass along?
You know, one of the best pieces of advice I got two. I mean, I got many, but I got two that come to mind. One of them is I got it from my accountant, actually. So I was, meeting with my accountant, and I'm struggling because my money phobia, right? And anxiety and the things about growing a business. What we really want is we want to grow this beautiful, smooth trajectory, right? We'd love it to go just like that. So I'm in her office and I'm going, I really need to hire an office manager. I need to bring on a few more. I need to get a few more offices open, and I need to hire a few people kind of all at once. And I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because it's just like it feels too steep. And
Mm.
she was like, well, I hear this a lot. And she said, instead of of it like a smooth trajectory, I want you to think of business growth like a staircase. She's like, you get to take a step at a time often, but once in a while, you're going to skip 2 steps. You're going to go that big leap to 2 or 3 steps up. She's like, it just, when you're good at what you do, and you are, and you love what you do, and you're visionary. So you're really thinking like, wow, look what I could do with this thing. She's like, those are the places where you're going to have to skip a step or two. It's not a smooth linear trajectory. It's a
Yep.
staircase. And I was like, okay. So, and that's pretty much all I needed. I went and really sat and thought about that, and was like, she's right. And so I got the money I got, 3 more offices in my building. So now I pretty much have the whole building, and then hired a couple of people at once and an office manager all at the same time.
Wow.
And it changed everything. It was great. The other piece of advice I have this strange, kind of thing that happens with my patients where I have like this amazing variety of people I work with. I work
Mhm.
with F-16, F-35 fighter pilots, Olympic athletes, professional football players, to millionaires, to the other side of very low SES and people who have anxiety disorder and trauma. I mean, I get it all. But I've had many millionaires, right? And I'm always asking, because I think it's a cool question to ask, tell me about your millions. How do you get millions, right? So I got this one guy who was like, he's known me for a while, and he was like, oh, the book you need is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Mm.
And it's not about making money. It's about your mindset about money,
Yeah.
right? And it's thinking like a millionaire to be a millionaire, right? Ironically, in the book, what's really funny is prior to Donald Trump being our president, he says, take away Donald Trump's billions and give him $1 million, and he's still going to become a billionaire because he thinks in billions.
Yeah.
So
10x.
yeah, so if you think small, or what you think about what you don't have, then you get stuck there. And when you think about where you're at and that's all you're thinking about, then you get stuck there. If you can think forward,
Yeah.
think that way. So the book says, go get around people who have money, see how they do things.
Yeah.
You know, um, get rid of some of the biases and illusions that you have about people who are wealthy. Get into that mindset. I thought that was really
Mm.
great, which led me to a really cool book called by Ken Honda. You ever hear of Ken Honda?
Nope.
He's this amazing Japanese writer, business consultant, and it's called Happy Money.
Happy money.
And Happy Money, an amazing book, and it's an easy read, but it's really about how you feel about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's really moving into this kind of next wave of, I don't want to say law of attraction, because I feel like that just gets this cheesy kind of twist to it, for people who don't really understand it. But it's really being grateful for money as it comes in, grateful for money as it goes out, and understanding why you feel the way you feel about your money.
Yeah.
and examining the way that you are with money, what you grew up with, looking at your parents, your grandparents, and your great-grandparents, and what you were taught,
Yeah.
and understanding how you bring that into your business, and then starting to twist that to make sure that you're always happy about the money that comes in, and you're happy as that money leaves. It's served its purpose both ways. To the point in my business where I have somebody who maybe owes us money or isn't happy about the money they're spending, or they're not feeling like they're getting what they want, then I go, then don't pay me.
Yeah.
I don't want it. If you're not happy, then the first thing that I've got to do is make sure you got what you came for. And if you're not getting what you came for, that's the primary goal. I said, I don't want your money if it's a check that you write like this and slam it on the table. What I want is I want you to walk out of my office going, $90 an hour, I would have paid $130 an
Yeah.
hour for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And so
funny.
I'm at that place where with my business, I don't take unhappy money anymore. I just
Wow.
don't do it.
That's a very high philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reality is, because I run my business the way I run it, I almost never run into that.
No, I agree, right? Because if you're already saying like I'm going to stand behind my product, I'm not going to take your money if you're not overjoyed to having spent that, then you're not that's a total belief in your product that I think everybody should have, right? If you stand behind your product, there should never be anybody writing a check with a frown on their face, right? Like, oh my God, I here, this is not enough. Are you sure I shouldn't pay you twice, right?
Right.
If that's the mindset that you have to deliver, that's the that you'll be sure to make sure that you deliver a product beyond what anybody's expectations are, right?
Right. Right. And that's on my website. You'll see a Kaizen, right? Continual improvement.
Yep.
And that's and if we're getting unhappy money, I go, it's not about the money. Why aren't they happy?
Yeah.
What did we not do right?
Yeah.
We're going to go fix that. We're going to let them know we're going to fix that.
Yeah.
Then we're going to let them know what we learned from not doing it right, and tell them what we're going to do different, so all the people that come after them get it better. And they understand that that's part of the learning process for all of us.
I have a good example, the same, right? So this is in my former business, and somebody wasn't exactly happy with the service that we provided with them. And they owed us some money. They had built up quite a bill, but um, it was actually my human resources director at the time that says, well, why don't we offer them a choice, right? Do we want to Do you want to pay for the bill? Do you not want to pay for the bill? How much do you think will let you choose how much they paid? And they paid about 3/4 of it, right? So they were 3/4 happy, right? Which was an eye-opening experience for us, right? So I completely understand what you're saying. It also makes them feel better, and they continue to do business with us afterwards anyway, right? And then they were fine with paying the invoices as they came along too. But we gave them a choice, and I think you'd be very surprised because it gives you. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing. Sometimes it's just a little fringe unhappiness, but once you've given them the choice to really quantify it for themselves, what the price was worth, then you'll find that they sort of work out their own. They want to be fair. People inherently want to be fair with you.
You got it. I agree. I have a lot of faith in people, and I believe if you treat them well, they respond well. Not only that, I believe it's a leap of faith to just say, it's really not about the money. If I don't have customer satisfaction, if I don't have people talking me up, if I don't have that in there, I'm not doing it right. I've missed something. That's why I'm there. I'm there to help. I'm not there to make a buck. I use it as a learning opportunity, right? Experiment, fail, learn,
Yeah.
repeat, right?
Iterations.
You got it.
Yep. Um, what we sort of moved through everything pretty darn quickly. You have been fantastic, Chris.
Right.
It's really good to catch up with you again after all
I
these years on this medium, right? Give us an excuse to talk to each other after what you said 12 years before when we started up on this.
Yeah, it's been a while since I moved from New York.
Closing comments, right? So I wanna leave people with a tool that as they start getting down in the doldrums, right? Now that because we're looking at it now, right? We already our school is, we've already had one case in our school coming up. I think for the parents, especially with all of these stresses with the kids going to school, what's a tool that they can either look to incorporate into a daily mindset or lifestyle to sort of manage the whirlwind of expectations and disappointments that are going to be occurring over the next few months?
Okay. One of the things that I think is really important is for people to set a healthy priority list. I think you'll learn some things about your family. I think you'll learn some things about your kids. I think you'll learn some things about your coworkers as well, right? The things that they need to feel happy and healthy, right? And put that at the top of your list and make it a routine. Get your hands sanitized, get your sleep, and that'll allow you to dive into the empathy and the sympathy that we all need as we all are struggling with this giant issue. How's that? That's my
That
soap.
is fantastic. Fantastic. This has been a great time, Chris, really.
Good. Me too, man.
So thank you, Chris. That was fantastic. If you want to learn more about either Chris's business at his website, which is www.
Neurotherapy, NEUROTHERAPY of CS.com.
Excellent. Thank you. And if you want to learn more about what we do here at SLC Advisory Group, you can come visit us at slcadvisorygroup.com. And of course, if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our content, hit the subscribe, and we'll let you know when our next episode comes out. And we'll see you again next month. Thank you again, Chris. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Good to see you.